For your first GIMP project, I want you to create a very simple stick figure self-portrait. So to get started, click inside Cortana here and type GIMP, and it should show up as the best match. If it doesn't, that means it's not installed on your computer. Just raise your hand and let me know, and I'll take care of it for you. Otherwise, click on it. You'll see mine starts up pretty quickly. That's because I've already run GIMP on my computer once. The first time you run it on your computer, it'll take a little bit longer. Once GIMP is running, click File, New, and I'm just going to leave this as the default here and hit OK. And if you look closely, you'll see that it's a little bit wider than the window shows. So we can fix that by clicking View, and then we can zoom out. Or I can just, you can see here, I can also just hit the minus button. So if I just hit minus, I zoom out. Before I do anything, before I paint at all, I want to first click File, Save As. This is the most important step. I'm going to click Save As, and then I'm going to switch to my network folder. Every member of the Matsuboro School District, all students, all staff, have a network folder, and you're going to change the file name up here to, let's see, I'm going to call mine Bacchus Self Portrait. And then I'm going to leave this .xcf at the end. That's the native file format extension for GIMP. That's what indicates to the Windows operating system that this is a GIMP file. So we want to leave it that way so that it makes it easier to open and use. Now I'm going to click Save. And if I did everything correctly, it should say image saved to h:/ and then the file name that I chose. So to make sure everything is saved correctly, I'm actually going to close GIMP now. And then I'm going to click on the File Explorer. Actually, I won't because some of you don't have this, but you could click File Explorer, or you can just type it right over here. And it should show up as your top option, your best match. And then I am going to I can do a couple different things. First of all, I could go to this PC and then I can find my network folder here, and you'll see it shows this really long address with at the very end the option of just using an H. So if I actually go up to this little bar up here, I can just type H:, and it takes me straight to my network folder. I can either do that or I can click this. Either one takes me right here. You can see I've got some folders from the past that I already have in here, and then I have the new file that I just created. If I double click on this, it should open up the file using GIMP. The advantage to using this versus Google Drive is that if I use Google Drive, I have to actually download the file to the computer first, and then I can open it. If I save it to my network drive, the H drive in this case, then I can open it directly. So that makes things a little bit easier. The second thing that's beneficial just for saving it in either one of those two locations, either the H drive or Google Drive, is if my computer were to die, if something bad were to happen to my computer, maybe it doesn't die, maybe just my profile got erased for some reason, my work isn't lost. Saving it to the H drive saves it to a server that the district has set up for you so that you can actually just go to a different computer, log in, go to the H drive, and you'll see your work is still there. So it's just a nice way to make sure you don't lose your work. All right, now that we're back inside GIMP here, I'm going to zoom out again. So I'm going to click View, Zoom Out. And that's so I can see my entire canvas. And then if you don't already have the paintbrush selected, let's see, I'm going to zoom in here so that you can see real well what the options are. So in GIMP there are a ton of tools. It's a very complex program. We're not going to go through all of these tools right now. Right now, the only thing you have to know about is the paintbrush tool. So if you don't already have that selected, select the paintbrush tool. And then for the size, you probably have a size of 1 to begin with. If I put my cursor over here, you see that's a very tiny dot. I want to switch this to 50 so I can make a really big dot. And then I'm going to hit enter to lock that in. You'll notice that this changes over here back and forth. So I can actually click on this and move it bigger and smaller as I want to. Again, I'll go ahead and make it 50 just because that's what I want. Now I have a bigger dot. To choose a color, I can click on this and up will pop a window that allows me to choose different colors. Right now a blue is selected. I want to have a green for ground. So let's see, I can go ahead and move this little dial here up and down until I find kind of the right shade of green that I want. And then I can move this around to make it either, a lighter green or a darker green. So you just pick exactly what you want. And I'm going to hit OK. And so now you can see this foreground color is green. Now I am going to paint a nice little hill here for my stick figure to stand on. And to fill it quickly, I am going to select let's see here, the paint, what's it called? It is the bucket fill tool. So it looks like a little bucket with paint pouring out the top. And I'm just going to click right down here after I select it. And it does a pretty good job, but you'll see there's this little white line that doesn't get filled. So that's kind of annoying. I'm going to go back to my paintbrush, and then I can actually just paint right where that white line is to kind of fix it. So let's see there. And I missed a spot here, and I missed a spot over here. Oh, still a little bit there. Okay, so I've got a nice green hill in the background, a nice grassy hill. Now I'm going to switch colors, and I'm going to pick a nice blue. So I just move this little dial here up until I find a blue that I like, and hit OK. And then I'm going to use the paint fill again. And I'm going to fill the background to a nice blue. Alright, now I want to choose a color to paint my stick figure, and so I'm going to click on the color choosing tool, and I don't see an easy way to choose brown here. So what I'm going to do is open a web browser, and I am going to type hex code brown. And if I click on this, I'll see a list of different browns here I can choose from. And if I compare this to my skin color, at least this time of year, it looks like wheat most closely resembles my skin tone. So I'm going to highlight these sequence of letters and numbers. This is hexadecimal notation, which is fairly complicated to explain at this point. Suffice it to say, this just represents brown in the world of HTML, the language of the web. I'm going to right click on it and hit copy. I could have just hit Control C or Command C if you're using a Mac. And then I'm going to go back to my picture here, and I'm going to paste that code into my HTML notation. So I just hit paste here, and then I have to hit enter. And it creates that color inside GIMP. So that's kind of a handy way to get a color that you're not exactly sure how to get it here, but commonly used one that has a name. At any rate, I'm going to hit OK. And before I get started, I am going to go to this Layers, Channels, Paths section. And I'm going to zoom in here so you can see real closely. There's some options down here. One of them is to create what's called, I'll scroll down just a little bit more so you can see better. I can create a new layer. Create a new layer and add it to the image. So I'm going to click on it, and it gives me the option of filling with white. I don't want to fill with white. I want it to actually be a transparency. If I fill it with white, then the white's going to get plastered over the top of the nice background I've already made, and I want to use that background. So I'm going to use a transparency, and then I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to make sure that this layer here is on top of my background, and I'm going to make sure that it's selected. So you can see that it's dark. That means it's selected. And now when I paint, I'll be painting on top of this background, and it seems a bit trivial why this is important right now, but you'll see shortly that it's very important. So I'm going to switch back to the paintbrush, and I like the size of my brush right now, so I'm just going to use this, and I'm going to draw my stick figure. So here he's got a nice big head, he's got a body with some legs, and he's got some arms here. And then I'm just going to fill in his head. There we go. And now I have a stick figure. The cool thing about having a separate layer instead of painting directly on the background is I can actually hide this layer if I want to, just by clicking on the visibility button there. Now, generally speaking, you won't need that, but if you're going to create an animation, this all of a sudden becomes very, very important. The next thing I'm going to do is create some eyes. So I need to click back on my color chooser, and let's see, I'm going to choose some greenish eyes. Let's see, something like that. I'm not really sure what color my eyes are, but well, that's good enough. So now I'm going to put an eye here and an eye here. And the next thing I'm going to do is put a smile on my face here. So I'm going to go back to here and choose black. The easiest way to choose black is to just drag to any of those corners, okay? Or you probably already have it as one of your options, then just hit OK. And I don't want my smile to be so big, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm just going to make it a size 10 here. And let's see. There we go. All right, I'm going to paint myself a nose here. And, ooh, I really don't like that. So I'm going to just undo that. I can hit Control Z, or I can hit Edit, Undo. All right, so I have a nice stick figure, but there's one major problem with my stick figure. That is, he doesn't have any hair. Let's see, what could I use? I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to switch brushes to something that looks kind of like hair. Maybe this one. I don't know, maybe this one. You can experiment. You can find out what works for you, what you like. But for me, this looks like some nice hair, so I am just going to paint some hair on my head. And this is kind of important to me because, back when I was younger, I had a nice full head of hair, and it looked kind of something like this, back when I had hair. And so using GIMP allows me to fix my self-portrait, so that it looks right. At any rate, now I have a character that's got some hair, it's got limbs, got a nice background. The last thing I want to do now is put some text on here. So I'm going to click on the text button here. If I look right here, it says Text Tool. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm just going to click where I want to put the text. If I click right here, I can go ahead and start typing. Let's see, Bacchus. I want to say Mr. Bacchus. Okay. So again, you'll notice that over here in the layers section, it actually added that text as a layer. And again, that's important, and it's handy, and it's cool, because what it allows me to do is I can just click on this layer and turn it off really easily, and then it's gone. Nobody sees it. Or I can turn it back on. So with the skills you have here, you're able to create a fairly simple self-portrait. There are some requirements below this video. Look at the checklist or uh, the requirements, and make sure you fulfill all of them before you call me over to turn in your assignment. Um, Also, what is the most important thing that we're supposed to do, and we should have been doing every 5 minutes? We need to save. So click File. Now that you've already saved it once, you can just click Save, and you won't lose all of your work.